Hi, so today I'm bringing you a Honda Trail 70. This is a little mini bike that's been in my family for a long time. In fact, it's a little younger than I am, and it came to our family a little bit after I was born. So this was made in 1974, and it was bought, my uncle bought it because they had cabins up in northern Wisconsin. They had basically trailers, and the trailers had trails around the trailers, and I had a couple of uncles with those trailers, and they must have decided, I was a little kid, they must have decided to go out and get some of these so everybody could go bombing around in the trails around their cabins. So this one, it probably came to the larger family around 1976 or so, maybe 1975, so I would think it was a year or two old. I don't think he bought it new, but I'm not 100% sure of that. How I got it, unfortunately he died fairly young, and my cousin was getting rid of his parents' things because both his parents had died, so he gave this to me. He knew I always liked it, and interestingly, my uncle never let me ride it. He was a fastidious guy, and he wouldn't let little Nicky ride this Trail 70. So, hey Uncle Paul, thank you. I now get to ride your Trail 70. So anyway, unfortunately, but this is how we have it. We've had it again for a long time. It came to us, I'll show you a few details about it. It's in, I think, minty shape, quite good shape. It came to us from Jermu's House of Wheels. Highway, spelled with the abbreviated spelling, 12 and 16, in Mauston, Wisconsin. I have not looked to see if Jermu's is still around. It'll be interesting to do that. It sat out in garages a little bit, so you'll see a little teeny bit of corrosion on some bolts and things like that. I got this, again, my uncle died young, so I got this in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and I had the forethought to buy some parts for it while they were still very much available from Honda in their original form. So the exhaust had rotted out, just from, not from use, but from water and things sitting in it. So it had cracked up here and things, and I looked at welding it, but I found I could get a new one for essentially a really nice price. The engine runs beautifully. It's still quite tight. The carburetor has had to be cleaned a number of times, and you can see some shiny new parts on here that I've either cleaned up or replaced. This is the air cleaner here. It's 70 cc's again, so single cylinder, really quite a tiny engine. And this is the carburetor, and this is where the air comes into the engine, spark plug, and then the exhaust comes out and wraps around here. You can see it's kick start. There's no electric start on this thing. There is a battery, and I'll show that to you. The battery is under the seat along with the gas tank. It was an innovative stamped steel frame. So here's the lead acid battery, and this must be plugged in for it to work. There's a jumper here that without that connected, the ignition won't fire. There will be no spark. So that has to be plugged in. Under here is the gas tank and the gas cap. And the gas cap has this venting thing on it where you can turn it off, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute, why that exists. Otherwise, it would be a fairly straightforward mini bike. It's street legal with turn signals, a license plate, brake lights, and so on. And you'll notice, though, there's no clutch up here. There's a bit of a bracket for a clutch, but there's no clutch because this is an automatic clutch transmission. That doesn't mean it shifts automatically. It means the clutch engages as you rev up the engine. So as you speed the engine up, it starts to move forward, and we'll show that too. This is a hand brake up here for the front wheel, and there's a foot brake on the right side for the back wheel. And on the left is the shifter, like you would have on an ordinary motorcycle. Honda very much wanted this to be an entrance transition for young riders so they could come up to be motorcycle riders. In the 1960s, 1970s, there was a really quite stunning motorcycle campaign from Honda that said you meet the nicest people on a Honda because the Hells Angels style leather roughneck riding a motorcycle was the image apparently at that time. So they really wanted to bring people up into motorcycle riding. So this one had a lot of simple features. So here's the key, off, on, and this is also on with the lighting turned on. So we're just gonna put it in the middle here. And as I said, it's a kick start, so I'll lift the kickstand up and I'll get myself on the Kickstarter, and let's see if we can start it right away here. That was one. There we go. And you can hear it revs up. Oh, I do see a loose bolt right here. So there's always some loose bolts on it, I think. So we'll have to fix that one. And then it just quit. So I'll show you briefly the transmission too. So if we put it in gear, first gear, and then we accelerate it, it'll start to go. And if I let the accelerator off and the engine slows down, it won't go as much. So that's basically how the clutch works. It has 3 gears, so it's first gear is down, second gear is down, third gear is down. And if you look here on the speedometer, and yes, this is the original speedometer with 2,000. So somebody has ridden this around for 2,114 miles. I've put quite a few miles on it myself. I've probably put 500 plus miles on this. But here these arcs show you how fast you're supposed to go. So in first gear, this first green arc goes up to about 11 or 12 miles an hour. The second gear goes up to 30 miles an hour. And the third gear goes up here to 45 miles an hour. And I will say riding this at 45 miles an hour, which I have done, is positively crazy. It feels like the engine is going to, the engine sounds like a little model airplane engine, bzzz, like a little bee buzzing, and everything rattles, and it is definitely not a very comfortable feeling. So if you were to say, well, how would this government safety standards allow something like that? Let's talk about a few other safety aspects of this motorcycle. These would never fly today. So first off, you can unscrew these handlebars like this and push this forward, and you'll notice the handlebar folds down all the way down here like that, and the other one folds down too. And remember that vent I showed you under the seat for the gas tank? You switch that vent off, you switch a fuel shut off to the off position over here, and you fold the handlebars down. And actually this thing would fit into the back of one of those huge automobiles from 1970, a big Chrysler or a Delta 88 or something like that. So you could lift this 160-pound motorcycle and set it in the back of your trunk. Never mind that the gas could leak out and start a fire in the back of your car or explode. That, you know, that wasn't a thing at the time. But that's just one of the lack of safety features of this 1974 Honda Trail 70. But as you can see, it still works well. It was a kind of an innovative design, very inexpensive to manufacture. It has this, I've forgotten the color name now, some sort of orange. They have a funky name for the color, and unfortunately I've forgotten it, but this stamped steel frame that's welded together underneath this shiny strip here, and down here you can see the weld. But it was very inexpensive to manufacture because it really didn't require a lot of welding or special tubing bending and whatever else. 70cc engine, mated to a 3-speed transmission. The original tires are on it. They won't be for long because they're very dry rotted. And I've got some new ones on order, but a chain drive over there, 2 shocks in the back, some shocks in the front, speedometer, turn signals. It's really kind of a full function motorcycle. So I think for the end of this video, what I'd like to do is start it once more, and I'll just ride away. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm fascinated by it, so if you have any questions, please do ask me in the comments. And if there's something about this that you'd like to see a specific video on, let me know. It has been in the family forever, and I do like to talk about it, so love to tell you about it. Well, that's it for now. Oops. Let's try that again. Take 2.